Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with CircWorks, and this is Beyond 100 Days of Making Comics. What is Beyond 100 Days of Making Comics? It's where I pick up where I left off on my 100 Days of Making Comics journey. If you're not familiar with that, it's where you spend at least 30 minutes a day on your personal comic book project, and you do that for 100 days, and I finished mine. Oh, it's probably been, I wrapped mine up, it's been maybe like 3 months now. And what have I done since then? Well, not a lot on the comic book, unfortunately. And after that, I did do some, but just in the last month or so with the holidays and everything, I have kind of fallen behind, and I'm getting kind of bummed at myself about that. So I am anxious to get started. It's a new year. Happy 2015. Happy New Year. Just getting back on the horse and getting into doing my comic book again. My comic book being Young and the Dead. Now we're back to this again, this pitch that I do every single one of these videos. So Young and the Dead, this is my personal comic book project. It's Kids vs. Zombies. It takes place in the 80s, and it's kind of an homage to like Goonies and Monster Squad and all those 80s adventure, kid-centric adventure films and everything. So that's kind of what it's about, and yeah, I'm really anxious. These are the first 2 issues, and those are available on my store at circworks.com. And yeah, I want to get back to doing the third, or finishing up the third, definitely before my original goal, and I'll talk about this a little bit because that's one of the things that I'm doing with the new year, and one of the things that I do every year around the first of the year is I put up a blog post. And I've done that, and what the blog post is just basically me reflecting over my goals of the previous year and see if I met them, how I did with them and everything, and kind of going through that. And that's good for a couple of reasons. It's good for me because it's easy. I don't know how many people read the blog post. I'll post a link to it if you want to see it. I don't think it gets a lot of traffic or anything, but the reason why I do it more or less is just, for me, it's good. It's good to have that online. It's easy for me to just go back into archives and check and just see what my goals were last year instead of writing it on a piece of paper or something and then losing that piece of paper or whatever. And it's always there. It's always easy to pull up. And I guess there's other ways you can do it, but it seems if I put it out there online where everyone can see it, it also helps me to accomplish those goals because I know, well, the idea, whether anyone holds me to it or not, it feels like I'm kind of not indebted, but it just, if other people know what those goals are and if I'm not reaching them, it just helps me to accomplish those. It gives me some accountability and everything. So anyway, so I do that every year. I posted the new one up. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description. And yeah, last year I did pretty good on reaching pretty much all of my goals. One of them that I did set was, and I don't even really know why I set this goal, because the goal for having Young and the Dead done by the end of 2014, because that really wasn't my original goal. My original goal was just to get one of the, a new issue out by every new Comic-Con season, which mine kind of, and now Comic-Con seasons and I don't do a lot of cons right now. That's one of the things that I'm going to do. But now I'm segueing back to something else. But anyway, so one of the things that I don't do a lot of cons, but the big one that I do is Phoenix Comic Con, because it's kind of local here for me, and it's a really good show. Even it's got a really good reputation, even for not just locally, but anyone who exhibits there or who comes to it and everything. So it's a great show, and that's kind of what I would consider the kickoff of my Comic Con season. And I want to start doing more cons, but that's the big one. So it's just good for me to have at least one new comic book, so every time I come around, people who have maybe picked up the issue before will have a new one to pick up. And in a way, it seems like a year for an issue of a comic book isn't a lot, because these aren't graphic novels. Eventually they'll be collected in a trade and everything, and that's kind of the end goal. But it's just like a single 22-page issue. But with everything else I have going on, I mean, that's about it's about as much as I can take on right now. So yeah, it takes a little while longer, and it's a passion project. It's not earning me tons of money and everything. So, but it is, you know, like I said, it's a passion for me. So I do want to get those done. So the goal there was just to get this done by the next Phoenix Comic Con. So I still have plenty of time. So other than that one goal, which I wasn't really hearing too much because it wasn't as important to get it done by the end of the year, but rather by the summer of this year, I pretty much met most of my goals. So, and a lot of those I'm just going to carry on because I'm still kind of heading in that same path. My main thing is just to build up this CircWorks brand, and this video that you're watching, well, not this video, but this is more just focused on the comic book that fits into my whole CircWorks brand. I guess I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but it's basically robots, alien, zombies, other imminent threats to humanity. This imaginary mad scientist factory that basically builds whatever, you know, whether it's prints that will adorn your secret underground lair, or little science experiments, or other novelties and buttons, but all centered around that retro future sci-fi, mad science, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm going to continue on with that, and on this channel one of the things that I'm going to do is this new video series that I've been talking about. I've got it on the schedule. I'm hoping to get it running by March. I need a little time. I've got to buy this video editing software. I've got to learn a little bit about it. It's fairly simple, it looks like, but there's some things that I want to do that I can't really do with this Windows. Windows Movie Maker, which I like because it's easy. You know, it's a really good program, but it's limiting. So there's a couple other things I want to do. So I'm looking into this one thing. I got to buy that and kind of learn it enough where I can, you know, do what I need to do for this video. And then I've got some other things, some graphic design stuff that I want for like a little video intro and then the outro and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully the goal is by March to get this new video thing, and it'll be more centered around all the stuff I just talked about. And yeah, and like I said, all the goals for this year, 2005, are going to follow that same path, because I'm not really trying to deviate from that, but just continue on and do more. So CircWorks as a brand, and I'll kind of show you one of the things that I'm going to try to do, and this is going to be difficult because, I mean, right now I got a lot of freelance work, which is good, and I don't like to complain about that, but it takes away from, you know, my personal projects. So I want to, you know, I want to put some time aside to do that. So I want to try to do one more of my CircWorks prints every month, and I can kind of show you what those are. So like I said, it's all retro future sci-fi stuff, like mad scientist propaganda, things like that. So here's one that I did. This is one of my more recent ones. This is kind of a takeoff of the old Rosie the Riveter, and you'll have to excuse the reflections on the lights. But so it's like Rosie 2.0. She's a robot, and she's got the riveter as part of her arm. You know, so stuff like this. And let's see. So this is another one of my CircWorks prints. It's called "It Came from Earth," and it is basically an homage to all those old pulp covers and comics where you know, it's the kids that are, you know, imagining aliens coming down, but it's kind of flipped, so it's the aliens that are afraid of the Earthlings. Then I've got some inspirational stuff. I think inside the box, can you see that? It's a little kid in a cardboard box imagining all this stuff. So this is kind of stuff that like would look cool like on a teacher's wall or something in a classroom, just for inspiration or everything. So it's not all what we can do to take over the world, but most of it is. You know, here's another one. This is sort of like an old boxing promotion poster, but it's Mecha versus Kaiju. So you've got the Kaiju and the big giant mech facing off in a battle royale. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then I've got some smaller, I do smaller prints too. This is a series called Retroventions, and this is And sorry for pitching me, making this into a pitch thing. We will get to the comic in a minute. But I'm just kind of showing you what I'm doing. This is all about my goals and on more of this kind of stuff that I'm going to do. So retroventions are kind of like inventions that could never be or will never be, but they're fun to think about. So we've got the Viewmatic, which is kind of a cross between an Instamatic, not Instamatic, but I guess, is it Instamatic? I don't know, Polaroid camera and a Viewmaster. That one's great for photographers, gamers. This is the Game Boy 2600, so it's a cross between like a Game Boy and Atari's 2600, little mobile Atari type deal. For you music aficionados, this one is called the Vinyl Man, and it is a little portable vinyl record player. And like I said, I'm not sure how practical these are, but that's the fun of it. So yeah, so they're those are some of the things I want to. So I want to get one of those done every month. So that'll be 12 new prints by the end of the year, and maybe even more. There's going to be times where hopefully not too many of these, but we're talking about the course of a year where I won't be as busy. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll continue to be plenty busy with freelance work and just enough time to do my own stuff, and while earning enough money where I can take on I can get some new shows like comic conventions and things like that, and invest more in the business, and hopefully someday have all of that, have all the prints and things be where I won't have to take on as much client work. Not that I don't want to complain too much, because the work I've got right now is pretty cool. I'm doing a lot of game design and app designs and stuff like that, so that's cool. But let's see what else. So the other thing I want to do is post daily on whatever social media website. I've been doing a lot with YouTube, but I kind of let the Facebook thing and all that other thing slide. I mean, a lot of times when I post, I think anything that I post to Google Plus will forward to like Facebook and other things. But I think there's something for like I don't want everything just to be forwarded from something else. I want to do some original stuff on the different social networking sites, and I've got a decent enough following on my Facebook page. I think it's around 800 something, but I don't know, I kind of let it slide, and I just get tons of interaction on like when I post YouTube videos, and it seems like people are more interested on that, so to talk to me or there's more of a community there than the feedback I get from Facebook. So, but since I do have a number of people on there, I want to, I should do some, hopefully try to build that fan base or get people interested. But, with the whole Facebook thing where, I guess it doesn't matter if I've got, 800 people or, 2,000 people or 5,000 people on Facebook, because, now they want you to pay to promote. So even if I have 18 people, it may only, they make it so it only reaches like 30. So that's kind of a bum. So maybe, maybe Facebook isn't the way to go. I don't know. That's something I got to think about. But anyway, it doesn't hurt to post some things. Yeah. And I'm for right now, I'm kind of digging Instagram, and I'm digging, YouTube, but the more places you're out there, more you get seen. So anyway, but yeah, I'm real bad about getting, not putting stuff out. And I've talked about this before, but just, I just want to post something every day, even if it's just, a question or just a comment or a little sketch or something. And that's not always the case. So far, I've been on top of that this year. I'm hoping I can keep that up. But one of the things I've been doing is I'm always been bad about keeping a sketchbook. Mostly, I do a lot of sketches, but they're all on little cards and or like loose pieces of Bristol or whatever. But I've been really bad about keeping a sketchbook, and I got this from my girlfriend's parents, this little tiny sketchbook that it can fit in your pocket and everything. And because one of the things, like a lot of people have this problem with sketchbooks, is they get too critical about it. So my goal with this is not to get too critical, just spend like maybe a little 10-minute I'm calling them doodles, not even sketches, because I don't want to be too precious with them. So I started this little book, and just doing one a day, one little doodle, daily doodle. That's what I called it. And then of course when I put the hashtag on Instagram, there's already a thing called that, which you can imagine. I should have imagined there already was, but anyway, so daily doodles, like mostly just little robot things and here's a little, again, mad scientist, little, beaker or flask or whatever, little robo shark. So these are just tiny little doodles I do every day, like a mad scientist, a little robot on a pogo stick, this little Swiss Army robot R2D2 type guy, and then this is the one I did today, which is just a little robot with some headphones on. So these are fun little sketches, and I may be able to do something like make a little button, like a little CircWorks button, with the little 45 adapter type robot guy, whatever. And if you're not familiar, kids, if you're too young for this, these are, you can't really see it because the robot's obscuring it, but these are little things that you would put inside a small, like this thing. You can see here. I kind of showed it there. It's just an adapter that fits for these little 45 RPM records, and it's just a cool little design. I've always kind of dug it, so I might do something with that. But anyway, yeah. So far, yeah, I've kind of been digging doing these little sketches, and it's funny because I'm like, here, well, I got this little sketchbook. I don't have to be too precious with it, and in a way, sometimes it's hard to draw because the thickness, and at least for me anyway, but. Like I said, I don't want to be too precious. And then I saw this post, I think Marshall Couture, who was doing the 100 Days of Making Comics, and he's all over, all over YouTube and stuff like that. But he forwarded, or he shared something on Facebook. It was this guy, this artist, Dan Fraga, who I sort of remember from like the 90s in comic books. I think he was brought in by like a Rob Liefeld to kind of draw like Rob Liefeld to do his thing. So that's not really nothing against Rob Liefeld or wherever, I know he's kind of the whipping boy for comics. I don't have anything against him personally. It's not my thing. But so I never really paid much attention to this guy, this Dan Fraga, but and again, I kind of stopped collecting comics and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know really anything about mainstream comics, so I don't know what he's doing, but this video was him with a ton of these little sketchbooks, and he would do the time lapse. And these drawings were just, I couldn't believe it, because he was, just all pen, no pencils, no layouts, anything. He was just starting to draw these amazing, in these little tiny sketchbooks, these amazing little sketches, and they were so elaborate, and I just, like I said, there was it's something I don't think I could ever do, although I might try after seeing this video, I don't know, but he, just the compositions and everything, he would just start drawing like something, and then it might be a guy's face, and then he might start drawing the guy's hand over here, and he'd connect the whole thing together without, just all with pen, no pencil, no layouts, anything. And I'll post a link to that because I was pretty blown away. And I've seen stuff like that before. Everyone, shares stuff. You see weird things that these artists do, these amazing things, and a lot of it's just practice. If you do this stuff over and over again, you get really good at it. But yeah, I was just blown away, and he kind of likened it to, I guess he said he also likes to do likes to do hip hop stuff like freestyle rap, and he likened it to that, where you kind of have a general idea in your head what you're going to say, and he says he in his mind's eye you kind of see this picture, and then he just kind of lays it out, and it's really amazing that, to me anyway, someone who has to do everything as a sketch, and just to see that stuff. So I'll put a link, and you can check that out if you haven't seen it. I don't know if it's like viral or anything, or he probably has a pretty big following. I wasn't paying attention, but yeah. So it's one of those things where here I start trying to do a book like this, and not to be too precious, and then I see stuff that just blows me away, and I'm like, oh, I might as well just quit now. But then on the other hand, you're like so inspired by it. So that's the weird thing about when you see people who are doing great art, you can either be like, oh, I'll never be able to do that, or you can get inspired by it. And so I'm hopefully a little more inspired than I am kind of like intimidated by people who are doing awesome stuff like that. But I think that's a healthy kind of thing to think about when you're looking at this. So but yeah, I was really inspired by his stuff, and I guess I'm talking about all this different stuff. I don't know, keep going back and forth, but and I guess it's just because I haven't done one of these in a while, so I got a lot to talk about. So what else? Yeah, I want to do more sketches, do more of these shows, and as far as my goals and everything, post daily. market Circworks on. I want to try to market Circworks other than just I've got my store, Envy Store, and I'll get a lot of sales on that. It's most of the sales I get are from conventions and things like that. But I was thinking, in addition to Store Envy, also looking into Etsy, because I do have a lot of, some of my stuff is kind of handmade. I've got handmade versions of the, not that you can't just sell prints and stuff, and it's all original stuff, and but of my comic Young and the Dead, I've got some deluxe artist editions that are all hand put together by me, hand stapled by me, printed by me. I make little cutouts and everything, and so stuff like that I think hopefully might do good on Etsy. And maybe if it, the thing that I'm starting to realize is that, like I said before, just get your stuff on as many different platforms as possible, because I've got stuff on like some shirt designs on like Redbubble and everything, and TeePublic, and I get every month I get a little check. Sometimes it's sometimes it's around $40-50, sometimes it's $10, sometimes it just depends, but it's money that's just that I'm not really counting on. So things continue to sell on those websites, and it's mostly some of the pop culture stuff that I've done before, the mashups and things like that, and parodies and all that kind of stuff. But I'm wondering, it wouldn't hurt to throw up some of my original Circworks stuff on there. I don't know if people would be drawn to it or not, but a lot of time, what I'm hearing more about now, and what I really think is the case, is that this idea of doing what you love to do, like you can, here, a bulk of my money a bulk of my income is from client work, and like I said, I don't mind so much, because I kind of like the stuff that I'm working on, but I do like the personal stuff, and the idea that do what you love to do, and that passion shows through, and then people can become interested in it. It doesn't happen really until you do that kind of stuff. So that's, I'm trying to do both simultaneously because I need an income. I've got a family and everything, but I really want to try to get this Circworks thing going as a full-time thing. So and it's kind of back and forth, because part of it is like when you do things like that have fan art or characters people know, it's kind of got that built-in audience. So when you say do things that you love and people follow, I think that's true. But there's also the other thing where some of these prints that I have on like TeePublic and Redbubble, I've shown it before. They're parodies of whatever, pop culture type stuff. So people might do a search on Back to the Future and find a print that I did or something like that. So I don't know, but there are a lot of other people that are interested in the other stuff that I'm doing, the mad scientist stuff. There's people out there who are either in the world of science that like that, because it's kind of kitschy, and it's it's not true science or anything, but it's fun and everything. There's people like I don't know, just whatever. There's people that are into that kind of stuff. So I just need to find those people. So I think the best way to do that is get that out. So I'll probably get some of my original stuff on TeePublic and Redbubble, and also Etsy, and might even look at, and I don't know anything about really selling on like eBay or Amazon. I don't know if that's because most of what I do is like prints and things. I don't do a lot of original art for sale other than my sketches, which I don't really sell. I mean, every once in a while somebody will ask me, oh, I saw that thing you did, when you want to sell it or whatever, and then that's cool. And maybe I should mention that more when I'm doing these sketches, that these are for sale. I guess I don't really talk about it because a lot of it's fan art, and I'm trying to focus more on my original stuff. But these are original pieces, so I don't really feel like there's I'm selling like a one-off original piece, not printing a whole bunch of like fan art stuff that sometimes you can get in trouble for doing. And unfortunately, I have friends and people I know that have. So I don't want to get involved in that rat's nest. But anyway, so let's see where was I? So I know Jeff Lafferty. He does a lot of selling and stuff on like eBay and I think he's looked into Amazon, so maybe I should pick his brain and see what he thinks about that. So anyway, so the other thing that I plan on doing is, I don't know if you can hear my phone ringing. Sorry about that. So get the comic book done this year by convention season. So that leads us into what I've been doing with Young and the Dead. And one of the things that like I said, I kind of fell off track for a while. I hadn't been putting in my 30 minutes a day. So what happens is, and I don't know if you guys are like this too, but if you've got this goal where I did meet the goal of 30 minutes a day for 100 days, and then after that, it wasn't so pressing because I completed sort of what I set it out to do, and after continuing, there wasn't as much of an urgency, like, oh, I accomplished this, I can take a little break, and then that little break kind of fizzled, and I didn't get much done. And I was still saying to myself, well, I got to put in those 30 minutes a day, and it just wasn't happening. And then so one day you don't put in your 30 minutes, another day you don't, and then you kind of like, at that point the goal is almost demolished. To me, it's, for me, the best thing, you keep going on these steps to reach a goal, and if you miss a step, then it's almost like, oh, I failed. And which, it's a weird thing, it plays with your mind, because you really haven't, it's just one day where you miss 30 minutes, and it's not that hard to jump back on and do it, but it kind of, it does affect you, and you're like, oh, I missed it, and now you, and like, it's just hard to get back into that feeling of, or that, desire or whatever to reach that goal again. So I think the 30 minutes a day is just, it's a weird thing, because it's not a lot of time, but with all this other stuff going on, sometimes it's just hard to get it in. I find it like it's late at night, and really 30 minutes, again, working on a page isn't all that much, and you don't get a whole lot done. So it's like, oh, I got 30 minutes, and then, then I got to put it aside, and then you come back to it. And so what I'm thinking of doing, and I've been watching Jerzy Drozd, who does, he does the Comics Are Great podcast and a bunch of other stuff, but he's got his own webcomic that he's doing, and he's kind of set aside like 4 hours a week to work on this. And he's kind of like in the same boat as me, where he's, hoping he can continue to do that. But I think that's what I'm going to do. Instead of the 30 minutes a day, make it 4 hours a week, whether that's 2 hours here, 2 hours there. But sometimes it's easier for me, like in the weekend or something, just to set aside like a 4 hour block. And then you're in the mindset of working on the comic book. You're not going in these 30-minute increments. And it worked for 100 Days of Making Comics, because part of that was putting a video out every day. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But when I'm not doing a video, when I'm only doing like an update, say once a week or whatever, then I think it stands to reason that I can just block out some time to do to work on my comic. So that's kind of what I did yesterday. I kind of did that. I put in, I don't know, maybe 3 hours or whatever. And the day before that, I did some more work. So after this little hiatus of not working on my comic book with the holidays and everything, what I first started to do was, this little thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with the old Marvel Universe handbook from, I think it was back in the 80s. It may have started in the 70s. I don't remember. I think it was the 80s. But it was just kind of like, now there's really no reason for it, because all that stuff's on Wikipedia and everything. But there are these little, guidebooks that would tell you about each character. So what a friend of mine, Denny, who goes by Den Man, and I'll have to put a link to his thing, he started this thing called the AZ Universe, which is, I'm here in Arizona, so we've got a pretty decent comics community here locally. And so these are all local creators and their creations, and it's kind of the same thing. We've got, you got your bio. This is another friend of mine, Eric, whose character Ocho, and he's really prolific. I mean, he's been doing these little mini comics, and he's probably got like 50 issues by now. But anyway, so I did an entry for Young and the Dead for this. So this is I think this is volume 1. There was a volume 2, and the volume 3, I guess, is coming out. So I took some of the sketches and stuff that I did for the artwork, but I had to write a bio and everything. And in doing that, there were certain things about each character that I learned a little more. That's not a huge bio or anything, but in getting to that little portion of, of like the history and everything, I thought I got some new ideas for the comic and everything. So cool. So I did that for this. So I kind of consider that part of Young and the Dead, because it's all the same thing. And I did actually get, yesterday, like I said, I got back to actually working on a page. So this is page 8? I think it's page 8. I don't know if you can see this. It's like super light. I don't think you're gonna, wow, yeah. I don't know. You're not gonna be able to see it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, you have to wait till I ink it. But this is another scene. It takes place in a garage where the kids are getting ready to go out and battle some zombies, or fight their way through some zombies in order to get to their destination. So anyway, sorry you can't see that, but I assure you there actually is artwork on there. The light is just so bright, you can't see that, and my pencils are so light. And anyway, so that page is pretty much rough penciled out, and so I'll either ink that, or I got to tighten it up a little bit, but I'll either ink that or go on to the next page. But yeah, I want to keep pushing along and just try to set that 4 hours a week to work on this project. Again, with also setting the time to work on stuff for this new video series, the one print a day, little sketches that don't take much, and still do other things like the Fan Art Fridays and sketch time videos and these things and everything. So it's starting out to be a very, very busy year, but that's a good thing. So thanks for watching this. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so it's good to kind of get back into talking about this stuff and get back into the, because when I first turned on the camera today, I did do one last week where I talked about my tablet monitor, but a lot of that stuff was stuff that I filmed weeks before that and just put it all together. So this is really the first one of these that I've done in a while. So before I turned on the camera, I was like, you get out of the habit of doing these things like that. I mean, I've done the Fan Art Fridays, but that's just me drawing and not in front of the camera or anything like that. So anyway, hopefully great things to come for me in the new year. Hopefully you guys have everything, not everything planned out, but you got some big plans for what you guys are gonna do. And when I say guys, I mean guys and girls. It's just an expression. So anyway, everyone. So see what everyone is working on, because yeah, one of the things that really came out of this last year, 2014, was just doing these 100 days of videos and getting involved in this whole comic book making 100 days of making comics artcast communities. So yeah, it's been a great thing for me, and I want to continue to do that and just build on this thing, and hopefully it'll be a great year for me and you and everyone. So with that in mind, that's about all I have to say. So again, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, if you're liking what you're seeing, please do so, or like or comment or whatever. I love to hear your guys' comments. I try to get back to everyone who does comment. Yeah, that is all. Happy 2015.